The first thing we want to talk about is an interesting topic that doesn't get talked about too much, but it's the idea of affidavits and declarations. Typically, people submitting paperwork letters for immigration cases want to submit an affidavit, and it is requested that affidavits come in certain kinds of cases, or USCIS may respond with an RFE or a notice of intent to deny asking for affidavits. But affidavit requirement is a little bit difficult because you may need to go in from a notary to sign it, bring an ID. People might be overseas, or it might be during COVID where people weren't going outside the house. It makes it really hard. So at JQK Law Firm, we have a practice of doing unsworn declarations under the penalty of perjury. Could you talk about that, what that entails, and where that comes from, and why it's easier and kind of for people to do?
Sure. Yes. There are two kinds of letters that you can submit with your case to USCIS. Most likely, it's going to be part of your joint, proving your joint relationship with your spouse. That's what we primarily do here in our law firm. It can be declaration or it can be affidavit. So what's the difference? Affidavit, usually the one that is been sworn before the notary. So you have to actually go physically to see the notary and sign your letter in front of them. So sometimes, as John mentioned, it can be hard. So for this kind of cases, there is a possibility that you can just write a letter, right, and put the special language there under, what is that, US Code 28 US Code 1746. John has the language. I don't.
US, well, I'll read it off. It's a little bit complicated, but it's a 28 US Code section 1746, unsworn declarations under penalty of perjury. I'm going to kind of shorten it because there's a lot of words, but it says, wherever under any law of the United States or any rule or regulation, order, requirement made pursuant to law. So it says under all the laws of the United States, any matter that requires, and it has different kinds of things like evidence, established, or proof, statement, or sworn declarations. I'll bypass all that and go for the key word. It says, under any law of the United States, any matter that requires an affidavit, so I use the word affidavit, and I'll skip through some of it, says such matter may with like force and effect be supported, evidence, and established or proven by the unsworn declaration. So it's saying under any law, if there's an affidavit requirement, you could use the same effect would happen by these unsworn declarations, certification, verification, or statements in writing of such person, which is subscribed by him. So again, this language is really complicated, as true under penalty of perjury and dated in substantially the following form. So I guess I'll go on with the rest of the statute. Essentially, it says you can have a declaration if it's dated and has this particular language, and there's two versions of the language, and it's not even, they say substantially the following form. It doesn't have to be exact, but we try to just do it exact. The first is if it's executed, signed within the outside the United States, without the United States, a weird way to put it. They say, quote, I declare, or you say certify, verify, or state under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that the foregoing is true and correct, executed on, and you write the date and you sign it. The signing obviously has to be by pen. Currently, USCIS accepts scans of these because of COVID, but never do a digital signature on anything submitting to the immigration agency. So if you're outside the United States, you say that. If you're in the United States, you say, I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. You don't add the part where it says under laws of the United States. Now, I have an ebook. JK Law Firm has the Marriage Immigration Guide at the end in the addendum. We have a sample of these declarations for a marriage case, for example, for someone could provide. And it has the language there and how we do it. But it's such an important thing because it saves people a lot of headache of having to get these notarized statements. Now, preferably, they will be notarized, but this is an option that's used quite frequently at our office.
Right. I just want to add a couple of quick tips for preparing the declaration. As John mentioned, you can find the sample in our marriage green card guide. But if you write something for someone, please, if you refer to a person, give the person's full name, any person that you describe in your letter. If you refer to an event, you always need to say when the event took place, at least months and year. Yeah, preferably dates too.
But at least in a year, yeah.
Yes, and place where it happened, where the event happened. like city, town, village, or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, from what we see, probably USCIS not always read these letters of like proving the bona fides of the relationship. But if something happens, if something is wrong with your case, they will definitely go into every letter, make sure that there is no discrepancies there. So please make sure that everything everything compatible with all the paperwork you submit is compatible with
It's hard because there's so many details they have to go through, and they when they especially when they don't like a case, they're looking for a problem to find in there, which makes it really difficult. But along with those descriptions and descriptiveness of the what you're trying to explain and the details, you also need to include the person who's going to sign the affidavit, their name, their date of birth, place of birth, city and country, their address, their phone number, their email, all this descriptive stuff. I have to put it all in there. It's listed when you look at the instructions for Form I-130, for example. It talks about declaration affidavits, and they really want this detailed information about who the person is, and potentially the person signing a declaration could be asked to appear before USCIS to answer and say, this is really me, I said this and stuff. I've never seen that happen. It is possible, I'm sure, in the history of immigration it's happened. But again, they don't normally put too much credit in these affidavits or declarations, especially for bona fides in a marriage case, if the rest of it is good. But we try to submit it if we don't have much, because some couples may be new, they might not have joint documents. So it's a thing we do add on, not every case, because it's not always required. And frankly, getting other people involved in a marriage case, for example, asking friends and family to sign letters, it's a personal thing. They may not want their relatives or friends to be in their relationship. They might have a small relationship, might be a private relationship. For example, they might be I have a couple who have a huge age discrepancy. The woman is much older than the guy, and they kept their relationship hidden because they know there'd be so much judgment, and the family of the woman would not approve. So to avoid that drama, they got married, they live their life, and they don't want to get letters from family and friends to put it out there. It's a real marriage. It's just it's a personal thing they don't want to get out. At the same time, they might be a same-sex couple. Putting it out there that they're in a same-sex relationship could have blowback in various ways in their different cultures, foreign countries. So it's not always the thing to do, but we just do it on a case-by-case basis. So I thought it'd be really important to share it on you. Appreciate the guidance on that.